longtime sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons, and also former Alcoa basketball standout Dwayne Easter. A championship will be crowned in the NCAA basketball tournament, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card. Marcus Fitzsimmons will fill us in on the latest high school sports news, and I'll follow up with the top national sports stories. Marcus Fitzsimmons will be on board to update us on what's happening in local high school sports, and we'll cover the teams and individuals in local high school sports that are making a mark. Today, Marcus visits with Caleb Giroux of the Daily Times and talk some Heritage High School softball. And I'll jump in and talk some NCAA tournament basketball and do a wrap on the Vols round ball season. We're happy you're here with us, so let's break the huddle and dive right in. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
How is everybody?
Yeah.
Doing good.
On a summer day.
Oh, yeah, it's hot.
Summer day out there, and it's going to get cooler tomorrow, but I wish we were here under a little bit happier circumstances, because I think a lot of people were counting on the Vols being in San Antonio.
Yeah, we're kind of making fun of me wearing my UT stuff.
Yeah, you still got it on. It looks that gray looks a little darker this morning than it did last week. But anyway, it was. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But what a sad ending, so to speak. I think everybody after beating Kentucky was high on the hopes that they could head on down to San Antonio for the first Final Four in program history. But it was not to be. But
not pretty.
It was sort of a loss that didn't hurt so bad. When you get beat 19 points, you just get on the bus and head back home. You know what I'm saying? If you get beat 1 or 2 in regulation, or you get beat in overtime, that's a different story. But when you get 19, you just take the uniform off, get on the bus, and head back home and say, Marcus, it's over.
Well, there was a rather large lady somewhere on Rocky Top singing, and it was the last song.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a little bit of letter rip here this morning. I'm going to turn to Major League Baseball. We got a bat. We got a bat in Major League Baseball, kind of taking everything.
You're not going to bring that up.
It's the torpedo bat.
Oh Lord.
The torpedo bat is making the news, and I mean to tell you that baseballs are sailing out of American ballparks all across the country, and of course, there's been some controversies over the years in baseball. The game has not been short of controversy by any stretch of the imagination. We've had juiced up baseballs. We've had stealing of signs from center field or dugouts or wherever. We've had video and use passes to first base now. We can just go to first base. Spitballs. There's been performance-enhancing drugs, but now
let's not forget banging on trash cans.
Banging on trash cans, but we've got a bat now, and it's legal. You know, Major League Baseball has said, it's a legal bat, and what it is for fans out there that don't know what's going on with it is the design. Supposedly the wood is thicker at the sweet part of the bat. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And if you can get around on the ball and make contact with the ball at the sweet part of the bat, then you can just start trotting around the bases, so to speak. And that's what's happened in Major League Baseball, and we'll see what happens with it as the summer goes along. But there are some players that have decided that they're not going to use it. Aaron Judge was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's decided he's not going to use the bat. And his first weekend, I think he hit several home runs there in New York, just using a regular bat. But the guys that are using the torpedo bat are supposedly having a lot of success with it. Comments. Caleb, you got any comments about this new bat?
It reminds me of like 11U or 12U travel baseball when you bring out the big barrel bats that make the loud pings. That's what it sounds like. But I'm shocked that in 2025 people have come across something that can just revolutionize baseball, which has been played for God knows how long. But I think
100 years, and now we figure out that you can shape the wood this way.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a torpedo. That's why they're calling it the torpedo bat, because of the way it tapers at the end. If it can hold up, I guess it's all right. But I'm looking at it thinking, if you don't get it on the sweet spot, you're going to see a lot of shattered bats. That's not going to be a foul ball. That's going to break the end of the bat off.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot less forgiving than a normal baseball bat. Like, you get boom power, but if you miss that sweet spot, There's no base hits with that, I feel like.
I'm talking, Dwayne, I'm talking on the road down here. But let's say this bat becomes the bat of the league. And over a period of years, it proves to be as productive as it is proven to be now. And it starts to change record books. Are we going to have guys go back and say, well, we didn't have the torpedo bat, when we played? I mean, is that what's going to happen?
Well, it kind of reminds me of softball. Softball, back in the day, you had these bats that were nothing like they are today. Now they're thin wall.
Yeah.
And you got different balls. And it became just like a home run derby. That's what it became, because back in the day, you had to really swing and to get that ball out. But kind of reminds me of that. It could be something like that where they start hitting a whole lot of home runs, and it might come to that. But softball, that's all it is now, just home run derby off those thin wall bats.
I would guarantee you Charlie Paleo is in Atlanta right now with his head in his hands,
I was
shaking back and forth.
Yeah, I got that down here.
I mean, imagine what Houston could have done to Charlie with these bats.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering, as we go through this deal, and guys have put up these big numbers, what it's going to mean to statistics on down the road. And guys are going to be 85, 90 years old and go say, well, they had the torpedo bat, but I was just on performance-enhancing drugs. I mean, they had a better deal than I had. I don't know. I don't know where it's going. But I wish Charlie was here. I'd like to ask him that question. How a pitcher would feel in Major League Baseball. Throwing a ball up there.
So they already started using these bats?
Yeah, they already started
they're using them, and they've caught on. They've had such a, forget the pun, bang coming out that they became very popular very fast in the first week of the season.
Exactly.
That don't seem quite right.
The factory is in overdrive trying to meet the orders for the bats that they've received this week.
And of course, it was the Yankees who thought to bring an MIT engineer in to try to get more home runs out.
Yeah, the Bronx Bombers.
Make a new bat. Yeah,
the Bronx Bombers. How appropriate. How appropriate. Well, we'll see what happens with it. The Lady Vols. I want to talk a little bit about what's happening over at UT. The Lady Vols were put out of the NCAA tournament by Texas, 67-59, and they finished the year at 24-10 and 8-8. Marcus Fitzsimmons, a good year or a great year for Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols. As you look back,
when you look back, I have to look back to. We didn't expect them to be 500 when Caldwell was hired. Mm-hmm. We thought this program was in a massive rebuild that was going to take seasons. The fact they were even in the tournament was amazing. The fact that they were playing in the Sweet 16, I mean, if anything, she set her bar a little bit higher than she probably wanted to, because now that's the expectation for her. Well, if you didn't have anything to work with and you got to the Sweet 16, just wait until you can get that first recruiting class in, and gosh, you should be in the Final Four next year.
Right.
Now you're going to have to live with the Tennessee fan base, and the Lady Vol fan base is just as vicious as the football fan base.
Thank goodness for the transfer portal and in college athletics, because it really works in some situations. And
I mean, Caleb covered them. He saw what they did. I mean, those fans are vicious.
Yeah, it's a tough job. It's going to be anybody that goes in there is going to be a tough job. But I think that she's handled it as well as anybody else. And there's been a couple of coaches that's preceded her that I think makes it a little bit easier, coming in after the other two. And the other coaches were successful, just not successful enough.
Yeah, I think Tennessee women's basketball would be the only program in the country where if you make the Sweet 16, you get fired because it's not good enough. But you look at, top to bottom with Kim Caldwell, Danny White's investing in her and this team, and the NIL is there to back this team to where they can go in the portal, and in this portal era, like you mentioned, it's a reload instantly. There's no rebuilds now with the transfer portal. So they're going to go in the portal and rebuild. And I agree with Marcus. She may have set her bar too high, but I think if you told anybody we're hiring a coach from Marshall who had 1 year of Division I experience, and she's going to have Tennessee as a 5 seed in the tournament, almost hosting the first round, which they didn't even do last year, I think anybody would have taken that deal.
Yeah,
so,
and going up to Ohio State and beating a good Ohio State team on their home court was great. But they played the top teams tough throughout the season. They beat Connecticut.
They were close with South Carolina.
And South Carolina, there's the two teams playing for the championship.
Exactly.
Had a chance to win both of those games this year. So, Sweet 16 appearance. So, that program, you know, a lot of people looking forward to what they're going to do next year and the years to come. And the administration over there has upped her salary. After 1 year, they've upped it. I think she was making $750,000, and it was $40,000 for winning the NCAA tournament games. We've got that $865,000 or thereabouts after this year, but they've gone beyond that, and they didn't disclose what the hiring figures are. So, but that's where she was at.
Mm-hmm.
So I would guess we're talking well over $1 million. I would guess after going forward here.
Yeah, and they're in a verbal agreement for the contract, so we don't know yet what the raise is, but I know for sure she's probably going to get a raise, and her assistants as well, because it was a complete effort to turn Tennessee around with barely any roster. You didn't know what you were going to have to get a transfer portal class, go to the Sweet 16, and you also have a great class of freshmen coming in that really can build the foundation for this program.
And it extended her too, didn't it?
Yeah, it goes through 2030 now.
And Kelly Harper, she's making pretty good money.
Yep,
in
that is
Missouri.
true.
She's making what? Is it $950 or $850? It's
Something like that. But you know, you got to think that game's already going to be circled for next season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When Lady Vols play her.
And they'll come here
But
next
if she's
year
getting
too.
this amount, you know, Caldwell's got to get a pretty good.
Yeah.
But
bump
the other
over
one you
that.
got to think about, who's like I said, she's probably set the bar a little high. But if you're Danny White, I mean, okay, you've hired Heupel. Now you've made this hire. You're going to be expected to pull a magic rabbit out of that hat on demand from going forward.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's a high bar for the AD to meet, because not every coach is going to work out this way.
Exactly.
I think one of the great things about Kim Caldwell coming in here and being successful is that you're seeing in the women's part of the SEC what you've seen in the men's, where outstanding coaches are starting to filter into the SEC, and it's becoming a stronger and stronger league, not only because of players, but because the coaches are getting. Caleb,
Yeah, the SEC's always had top-end talent. You think about Tennessee back in the day, or even South Carolina more recently. But now, top to bottom, Tennessee finished 8-8 in the league and made the Sweet 16. Like, there's probably not a better league in women's college basketball or men's college basketball, I'd argue, as well.
Right. Vol baseball, they've got Texas A&M in here, and yesterday, Caleb, you were over there, a no-hitter.
Yeah, second.
A no-hitter yesterday. They won 10-0 and 29-2 and 9-1, number one in the country, and life's good over there for Tennessee baseball. Right now.
Second no-hitter of the season. I don't know how many times. Tennessee's only had multiple no-hitters once before, and it was in the 70s. So they've got Ole Miss transfer duo of Liam Doyle on the mound and Andrew Fisher at the plate. He launched 2 home runs. Liam Doyle worked 6 scoreless. Ended his outing a little early, had a blister on his index finger. But, man, I don't think there's a team playing better baseball right now than Tennessee.
Yeah, they're going to play at 6 o'clock tonight, and then they'll play at 3 tomorrow afternoon, and that game is on ESPN.
I believe they've changed that because of the weather forecast. I believe we got a doubleheader today.
They're going to go
All
3 and 7
All
today
right.
because of the weather.
Thanks a lot. I
If
didn't catch
if
that.
you're doing anything in East Tennessee tomorrow, chances are it's been moved to today.
Yeah.
I believe softball has also moved their series up.
Okay.
I saw several posts that some of the events that were 2-day festivals are now doing longer Saturday.
That's why I
and
put my fertilizer out today when I
Yep.
get home.
if you were getting out there to cut anything or weed anything, it's to do it today, because you're not getting out there tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's a late deal. I was on there last night. I didn't see anything on there that had been changed on the SEC
It
page,
was-
so it must have been changed.
Yeah,
maybe
it was
late.
late.
So,
It was right during first pitch.
All right, so we'll go with that.
Well,
and then, of course,
chances are the game that third game will probably still be on that Sunday time slot, because there's nothing else that's going to be live tomorrow across the entire Southeast.
Yeah.
So they may take Tennessee's late game tonight and put it on tomorrow
I see.
afternoon.
Yeah. Lady Vol softball, they're still rolling. They took 2 out of 3 from Oklahoma last weekend, and they beat Mississippi State yesterday 8-0, and they've got 2 games remaining in that series. Football, one of those deals we haven't heard a lot about football.
Are
but
they
next week-
practicing football now?
I don't.
Is that going on?
I mean, they've sort of been overshadowed, with the basketball going on and the baseball and softball going on. But it's been a real quiet, I think, spring in football. But
they're having the orange and white game
next week,
Yeah.
next Saturday, April the 12th at 2 o'clock.
Tony
They're
was
going to have that.
He was talking about that on the.
Yeah. And there's only they're only going to let 45,000 people over there to see that game. And they're charging $10, and it's going to go to the My All campaign, which I assume that's where they divvy out money to the players. Is that what that is, or is it something else? Somebody help me there.
I don't remember if that's NIL
I'm
or if
getting them
that
confused now.
if that is the collective that will fund Tennessee's portion to pay the players directly as state employees.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have
It's one of the two.
they're going to have a Vol Village, and it's going to be open at 10:30 over there. Live bands, food trucks, appearance by the Spirit Squad, VFL Stirl the Pearl. Is that Sterling Hinton? I don't know. I guess it is.
Yeah, it is.
I guess it is. And then of course then that'll be hopefully they'll have nice weather for that.
Do you think they use the NIL for the Spirit Squad? Because they're doing a lot of appearances to raise money for this. Did they get a cut?
I don't know. Should.
So the My All goes back into the building the stadium. So all the
Oh, it does.
renovations.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
That's stadium renovation.
Yeah,
so
it's
it'll
hard to
go-
keep track of which
It
Ponzi
is.
scheme
Yeah.
we're talking
Well,
about any given
I
time.
knew it. I knew it wasn't going into the hands of any former players over there. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
going to the stadium. That's good. All right, basketball. Tennessee's head round ball coach Rick Barnes has 6 scholarships to fill next year, and players coming back: Felix Okpara, Bishop Boswell, Cade Phillips, J.P. Estrella. Estrella was out with an injury. That Dwayne last year, but they've got those 4 coming back. Boswell was a freshman this year. Phillips was a junior. Estrella was a junior. I assume he'll have 2 years of eligibility left because he didn't play. I guess. But you got a center there, a center forward, so to speak, with Para. You got a guard and 2 forwards with Phillip and Estrella. So they've got to go.
They've got a lot of work to do.
They've got to go to the portal. They got to go to the portal. But looking at it right now, it's about the same as we were looking at it last year. I mean, it's just it's almost like Tennessee every year regroups with I call an all-star team. They got to go out to the transfer portal and they got to pick up some players, and now it's in full swing. They got Amari Evans, who's a guard, a 4-star player coming in. Troy Henderson, who's a guard, and another freshman, Dwayne Brown, who's a center, and he's a 4-star. So those 3 signees that they've got coming in. And I believe that I read yesterday where Jacoby Gillespie signed, who was a guard at Maryland.
Yes, sir.
I believe that's right, Caleb. Is that correct?
Yep, and he's people here might know him from Greenville High School. He was a very good guard there, went to Belmont, and then went in the transfer portal last year and ended up at Maryland. So he's a guy that can give you, size, 6'1" at the guard spot. He also can score the ball, and he fits Rick Barnes' system perfectly because he loves to press, get steals, and go the other way.
Yeah.
So.
And if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee was looking at him last year when he went into portal.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where Zakai Ziegler was probably going to play 30 minutes a game, so it wouldn't make sense for him to
I
come
got a
here.
crazy thought. Here's what I would do. I'll try to go and get that Auburn guard, Pettiford, and offer him a lot of money because he is really good.
Yeah.
But that's a crazy thought. That's what I'd love to have a guard like him.
Yeah.
Well,
But
tell you,
but you can actually have that thought now and
was
not
gonna
be
say, there's no
illegal.
crazy
that's
thoughts.
right.
I
That
think
gets some money. I can get him maybe.
I think a
Take him
guard.
from Pearl.
I think a guard's got to be one of the top priorities. And they're
Exactly.
missing that solid big man inside, I think. That solid big man. We'd had the big solid big man
Mara's
inside.
coming up anyway from UCLA. He's entered the portal, hasn't he?
Yeah. There's a possibility
I
there. I
don't
don't
know
know,
how
but
good he is,
and we're going to need a lot more consistency in the shooting outside. Hopefully these guys can play that around.
Yeah.
But they're coming into a defensive program, pretty much a defensive program, and we'll see how it all plays out. But Rick Barnes is the master, I think, of the transfer portal. He's flirted around with that Final Four the last 2 years with the portal, hadn't he? Really,
Yep.
Caleb.
He gets those. Rick Barnes has mastered getting the 1-year guys and getting the most out of them. Dalton Connect, Chaz Lanier. So they don't have that guy just yet, but you've got some talent. Amari Evans, the high school kid, he'll be able to play probably pretty soon just because of the way he can guard. He's a defensive first guy, which Rick Barnes loves. But they need some consistency. They need some scoring. And you kind of see, and I wonder what y'all's thoughts are on this, you kind of see Rick Barnes with these portal guys going away almost from his defense only. Because you look at Chaz Lanier, he was not a guy that played a lot of defense, but he could score the ball. And I think Rick Barnes has realized that you need scorers to win basketball games.
Well, maybe he'll recruit one at least. Got those 2 guys, and so
Yep.
we'll
If
see.
you got 4 guys that can lock down and one that could just try real hard.
Make it work.
Of course, he had Jamal Meshack in there, and You know, outstanding defensive player, but not so much from the perimeter.
Yeah.
But but you know, he centers his whole program around the defensive core to start with, and then he just kind of works from there, and he's successful with that. Hey, Tennessee last Sunday now was in the Elite Eight, and hopes were that they would go on to San Antonio and play in the Final Four, but it wasn't to be. They lost to Houston 69-50. And I think, Dwayne, they really lost the game in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 17-4 pretty quick.
I mean, you know, and then it just got to be kind of embarrassing. I mean, really, at the half, it was 34 to, I don't know, what was it?
15.
34 to 15. We had 15 points at the half.
15 points.
15 points. I thought, man, am I watching a fourth grade team right here play? And
it was ugly.
I went out to watch the game, and I'm not kidding you. The entire restaurant was screaming at the TV, "Don't shoot another three." And they were booing every time Tennessee would jack up another three.
Yeah.
I mean, when the people on TV 1,000 miles away are looking at it and saying, maybe we should take it inside, Rick, you got to wonder what was going wrong at that point.
It's like 0 for 14 at that point.
I mean, when you play a team like Houston, they're gonna play the numbers game, and when you look at the numbers,
let them
Tennessee's
shoot after all day.
Let them shoot it. If they hit it, they hit it. But
that was good coaching.
Houston blitzes the screens. Chaz Lanier had no room. They double the drive, so you have to kick out, but there's nobody to kick out to, and then you end up scoring 15 points in the first half. And when you do that against Houston, try to make a comeback, man. That 15, 16-point deficit feels like 30 against a team like Houston.
Yeah, the two best defensive teams in the country playing each other, and Houston had a perfect game plan. Now, I mean, there just wasn't really good. We got a few good clear looks, but they made us work, you know, on the offensive end for everything we got down there in the shots, and we didn't do a very good job of getting second shots, which we had done real well during the season, and you know, even the rebounding on either end was not where it needed to be. But on the offensive end, the Vols were 15 for 52 at 28% and 5 for 29 from threes at 17.24.
That's awful.
Yeah, you're not going to win very many games. If you win that game, you stole it, you know, just about. And then you're looking at Houston over here on the other side. They had 14 more shots. Well, you know, 14 more shots is a lot of points. I mean, you know, that's a possible 28 points. You throw in a few threes right there. That's a big statistic.
I think Houston had more steals than us too. I think in the game.
But if you go down and look at some of the other things, you know, turnovers. Tennessee had 9 and Houston had 5, which was you know, they only and usually Tennessee wins the turnover deal because Barnes' teams don't make very many mistakes. Bench points, Tennessee 18 to 15. Of course, you got Gainey coming off the bench, which is, you know, he's going to get his points, and he had 17 points in the game. But second chance points, 19 to 8. You know, and that's where we've been winning. That's where Tennessee's been winning games.
Yeah. Really. And I wonder how much of that too is if you're chucking up threes, those rebounds are bouncing to, you know, back to the arc. So you can't really get it just all kind of goes together. If you're not taking good shots and the rebounds are going far and your players are out of position. Yeah,
and I thought another big statistics, and this was with us penetrating with the ball and taking it inside and working the paint, outscored in the paint 30 to 14 in the paint. 30 to 14. Yeah. You know, those are just statistics that Tennessee just can't have and hadn't had during the season that they had in this game that you just can't win with that.
Another thing was, like, you know, Ziegler and Lanier and Gainey, they've been pretty consistent lately about their scoring, 17, 16, 15. Ziegler just had 5 points.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Chaz had 17 and Gainey had 17. So Ziegler, for whatever reason, didn't produce as many points this game, which I think was a big difference.
Yeah, but, you know, points off turnovers, Houston had 10 and Tennessee had 2 off turnovers. So, but you know, the whole deal was them taking Tennessee out of their game, cut off the penetration, and then the outside shooting was just a debacle. I've got one question though. With 5 minutes to go in the game, Tennessee had a chance. Yeah. They had momentum. 5 minutes to go. I'm thinking, hey, they can still steal this game. You know, a couple threes right here, and you know, here we are. But
I hate the fact you said a couple threes right here.
I know, but you know, you never know what happens. You know, down at the but you know, Gainey was playing really well, and with about 5 minutes to go, he takes him out. for a couple of minutes right there. I don't know if any of you remember that, but he took him out, and I'm thinking, why? You know, this is the best offensive player you got on the court. You know, he's led the comeback. He's got 17 for you, and you got him sitting over there on the bench
this could be your
with
last
the game on the
yeah.
line. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand it. But you look, and we've talked about going to the portal and maybe looking for that solid inside guy that can score for you. I mean, Parra was 1 for 1. You know, from the field, he had 4 points, had 2 free throws. Bluetick, he had 2 points. DeBar had 1 point, and Phillips had no points. Your inside game had 7 points.
That's awful.
7 points.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You just can't. You got it.
And you have Felix Okpara, who you brought him in knowing his game was not to score. So you need a guy like Igor Milicic Jr. who can play that 4 spot, who can shoot and also put the ball on the floor to go and, you know, take some contact and put a layup up. Because truthfully, Felix is there to play defense and catch lobs. So you don't look for much out of him. But the guys you do, you need them to contribute.
Yeah. And Meshack, he had 4 points, and of course he's a inside, you know, take it to the basket a lot. He'll shoot it outside, but he only had 4 points. So your inside game wasn't much better than your 3-point game on the outside. But if you'd have gone more in there, maybe it would have turned that around. Plenty of Vol fans in attendance up there in Indianapolis. I had I texted somebody up in Indianapolis, and I said, "Hey man, I can't believe the Vols. They didn't show up." And the guy wrote me back and said, "I'll tell you why. They thought they were playing in Minneapolis instead of Indianapolis." So I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. But anyway, Marcus, let me ask you this question: did the Kentucky win save the season? I go back to Steve Spurrier. You know how Steve was. He was a little critical of his teams when they didn't win championships. You know, he'd always say, "Well, you know, we played a lot of games. A lot of people came. We made a lot of money, made some big plays, but we didn't win anything. We didn't win anything." Well, you didn't win a regular season championship. You didn't win the tournament. And up until you beat Kentucky, you know, you'd lost to them twice, and you'd lost to Vanderbilt once, you know, during the year. And then you beat Kentucky in the tournament. The way things turned out, did the Kentucky game really kind of save the year? Soften everything a little bit?
It didn't save the year, but it also, if you lose that game, it crashes the year.
Yeah, I think so.
That's not, because that would be the loss everyone would remember. It didn't salvage it to beat Kentucky, but you didn't turn it into that season we lost to Kentucky in the Sweet 16 either. So, but I think it leaves the ending point being, are we ever going to get past the Elite Eight? Are we ever going to get to the Final Four, rather than being disappointed in the year? Because if you don't make it to the Elite Eight again, I think everybody looks at disappointment, because you were a #1 team for a quarter of the season.
Yeah, but you got to look at where we were at before Barnes.
That's always important.
Yeah, that's the good comeback.
Yeah,
we're in the
but now we got second round Rick. You know,
but I'm telling you, this is why I said, going back to Caldwell set the bar too high, because this is exactly where Barnes is.
As good a job as he's done, and as happy as everybody is here with him because of where we were.
We're in the basement.
That's what got him fired at Texas, because he couldn't get to the Final Four. He couldn't get any further than he's getting with us right here for the most part.
I'd rather have where we're at now than where we were.
I know. But
I'd like the fact that we are competitive in every game we go into now.
We had like a wrestler promoter there for a while, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like every game you go into, like every game is you have an expectation we can beat this team. May not do it because you're not going to have a perfect season, but that's a lot more entertaining than being like, oh man, we got to go to Rupp.
Yeah.
Caleb,
it was bad.
Caleb, we didn't win any championships, so to speak. You know, as I've mentioned, we did go to the Elite Eight. So does that pretty much, is that what you go by? Hey, we went to the Elite Eight, and you kind of put everything else on the back burner and go with it?
I think it's fair to be critical. I do think you have to put everything into perspective, though, just how successful Rick Barnes has been. And you also have to put into perspective how, you know, random and chaotic March Madness is in your draw. I think Tennessee got a favorable draw with Houston, but you're still playing one of the best teams in the country. You know, maybe if they would have faced off against a team like Alabama where they match up better, then you're going to the Final Four. But it's just that's the nature of March.
And a team playing for a lot of, last year they got beat, early in the tournament, disappointing. Now they got some players that had been there, and the Final Four is in their home turf down in San Antonio. So Houston had a lot to play for.
Yeah, and I think everything you have to put into perspective. It's fair to be critical of Rick and the issues the teams have had, but if you want to pick out losses where they should have went farther, you can go back to I think of when they lost to Florida Atlantic, beat Duke, lose to Florida Atlantic, and you had the path that year. Yeah. Last year you match up against the one team in the country that would beat you in Purdue. This year you match up against a team that plays the same way as you, has veteran guys, just not a good matchup. So I think you just have to kind of put it in perspective. Should Tennessee have gone farther? Maybe, but I mean, you beat two very good teams.
This year was a little like the scenario of what we were talking about right there, where they had the win against Duke. Remember the one of the premier programs.
Yep.
You beat Duke in the tournament. Everybody said, this is our year. And this year they beat Kentucky, and they're thinking, this is our year.
Yep.
And it's just, I don't know, it's just like the same old song.
Yeah, and I mean, if Rick wasn't having regular season success, it'd be a different story. But I think some of it you just have to chalk up to bad luck. And I was joking with Marcus, maybe Tennessee is cursed. Maybe a Final Four isn't coming. But it's an anomaly that a program like Tennessee hasn't been to a Final Four. And you wonder, after the past couple of years, if they can keep getting to the Elite Eight and knocking on that door.
Yeah, I think you're right. That we need at least two really good big men. That's our. I think that's our difference.
Yeah,
I mean, we can count,
dominating
somebody
big
we can
men.
count on.
Yeah.
Yep.
To score points down low, and we don't have that. We've not had it.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
If I could get two big men and a really good point guard,
there you go.
I think there you go.
And somebody that can shoot.
I mean, what they got?
Do we leaving anything out
what-
here?
they-
We got a point guard, shooters, and inside.
But they got They got Broom from Morehead State.
Yeah.
I mean,
find a guy
can't we
like
go out
that.
there and find some of these guys?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this before we get out of here, and I know we're running short of time, but Zakai Ziegler, he's getting a lot of radio time across the area right here as far as the year he had, and there's some discussion about whether he should have his uniform retired, and I just want to go around the table here and see what you all think about it. Caleb, you're you follow him pretty much.
Yeah.
And what do you think about
put me first up here? I mean, I think you have to go by what the program has said before, and I think it was Chris Lofton that came out and said he would like to see his jersey retired. So I think you get opinions from guys like Chris Lofton, guys who've been around the program forever, and see what they say and see if they want it. I think, he's a guy that's well-loved and kind of defines the Rick Barnes era and has laid the foundation. So I think if they do retire his jersey, I don't think it's a bad decision, but I don't know if he matches up to whatever standards you've set for the other guys as well.
I've got an opinion on
Dwayne,
that.
go ahead.
I know Dwayne's got one.
Yeah.
Tony White's jersey should be retired before anybody's right now. And you go by the criteria, Ziegler does not meet the criteria. He wasn't SEC Player of the Year. He's not first-team All-American. Tony was third-team All-American, but he was co-SEC Player of the Year. He has a major title record. Tony, if you look at his whole record, there's no doubt. And everybody I talk to that's from our generation, they say it definitely should be retired. Even people that are high up, that's got names on buildings over there, it should be retired. I just don't understand why it should be retired. Now, Ziegler's a good player. He's broke some records too, but he doesn't have the criteria. He wasn't SEC Player of the Year. If you go by the criteria, he's very popular, but he don't go by the criteria. He's not SEC Player of the Year, or he's not first-team All-American. So right there's two that he doesn't have. Tony has.
I'll say this one. I agree with you that we do need a DeVoe era player up there before we get a Barnes era player up there. And if you're going to make me pick a Barnes era player, I'm going to lean towards Ziegler because he was here the entire time, and I don't want to hear the argument that a one and done NIL transfer should be up there before he is. So, but that said, I still think there is a respectable distance between your playing days and when your number should go up, if it's going to go up. So, let's have this conversation again in 2035.
Yeah.
Tony's been forgot about. Basically, what it is.
Well, we haven't forgot about him.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
You know, CBS didn't forget about him. They put him on there. They were talking to him up there at the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my 2 cents in about it. You can talk about the criteria over there. I don't know who's in charge of making these decisions and so forth.
And Lofton was not a
but
first-team All-American either. He was second.
I grew up in a great basketball state. Indiana is one of the greatest basketball states as far as popularity of the game there is. They're the only state in America that has a high school basketball Hall of Fame. It is absolutely fantastic what they do. Their process for picking players that go in to that Hall of Fame, I think, is outstanding because, first of all, you got to be out 25 years. Before you're even considered for the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, you have to be out for 25 years. Well, now that eliminates this. Well, he just got done playing, so everybody knows him. So now we can put him in here. It sort of gives the players that were, back in the day, so to speak, their statistics are brought out, and they have to make what they call a silver anniversary team, which is the 25-year team. So in order to go in the Hall, you have to make the 25-year silver anniversary team, and then they make their selections from those teams who goes in the Hall. It's quite a process. And that way, it's not just based on, the hype of somebody that's just coming out. We put them in there, and again, a lot of it's weighed on how they did in high school because high school basketball is such a big deal up there.
Yeah.
But the college end of it does come into play some, and most all of them have played college basketball and everything. But I like that. I like that. I like that criteria that you're out 25. You have to make a silver anniversary team, which then gets all the statistics out there of everybody that's ever played. Then they can look at everything and weigh it all together, and then make a rational decision about something.
Tony's been out 38 years, and the Sports Source did a segment where they took a poll if they thought Tony's jersey should be retired, maybe, or no. Is between 83 or 86% said it should be retired. So that's after 38 years. And
Tony's right on that borderline. I mean, you go back to the 70s when I played over there. All of the people that know of the teams and the players that play, you got to go to the cemetery. You got to go to the cemetery out there and start hollering and see if anybody. I mean, it's a big thing. And it needs to be a committee, and there needs to be a process, and there needs to be some time involved. It just doesn't need to be some guys getting together and say, well, he was a pretty good player, and he's a popular player, and everybody likes him. Let's put the banner up. And that's not a way to do it, in my opinion.
And I agree, and I think when you look back at this era of Tennessee basketball, when you look back maybe 15, 20 years, I think Zakai Ziegler will be the guy that people think of from this team. He was a 4-year guy, Rick Barnes' right-hand man. He was able to coach the team on the floor the way Rick Barnes was able to do it from the sideline. Like, Rick always talked about not having to say stuff because Zakai could just handle it on the floor. So I think when you do look back, and I think you should, I think A&M put a kid's jersey up on his senior night, retired his jersey. I think that's insane. I agree. You have to wait. But I think when you look back at this era, you'll remember Zakai Ziegler kind of as the guy who's embodied
he'd be one
this
of the
team.
guys that you would want to look at. But, again, time and I don't mean to sound disrespectful with this, but time sometimes is a good thing because you don't know how players are going to turn out. In Indiana, character is a big deal. How do they handle themselves in their life and so forth and so on. Not that is the main criteria, but you don't want to get somebody up there that was a great player in a year or two, and I hope this never happens, but then they're put in prison. Now what do you do with the banner? That now you got a whole different controversy.
And Tony's been a good ambassador.
But
the 5 criteria is you need a major record, SEC Player of the Year, first team All-American, a national award, or national championship. That's the criteria.
That's what they got.
If it needs to be,
if that's what it is, they
but
got.
Lofton was not first team All-American. He's got his retired, so there is a little wiggle room.
Yeah. And there's still some awards
I'd like to know who's on that committee is what I'd like to know. Who is on that committee?
The big mystery.
Okay, Marcus, we gotta get out of here.
We're going to break, or I'm going to turn you off mid-sentence. How about that?
We had some good
Hey,
stuff.
you got me fired up here.
We had some good stuff going on over here.
Got me all fired
We
up.
had Dwayne. His hair's on fire right here. We had to take a fire extinguisher and get his hair. Hey, we'll take a time out here, and when we return, Marcus Fitzsimmons will provide some high school news from around the area, and then he'll have his feature mark it down. You're listening to the Goteez Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether
Yeah,
you're
there's
renovating
that.
a kitchen,
There's that.
bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925. Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Goteez Sports Page. I'm Mike Edwards, and I'm here along with Marcus Fitzsimmons, who's filling in for Donnie Moore. And I want to mention that Donnie is not here because he's still recuperating from his shoulder surgery, and we're hoping to have him back here real soon. And Marcus, that's a tough surgery, that shoulder, and I know he's doing the best he can do, but you know, if you got your right shoulder and you got it right, you're in trouble, right? Huh?
Well, you know, having sat in Donnie's seat for this is, I think, third show now, I can see where we might have to make some accommodations for Donnie to make a comeback, because even if we put him back in the game, I'm not sure he's going to be able to hit these buttons with his right hand. we might have to do some accommodations so he can hit the buttons with his left hand.
We need to take that board over to his house, and he can work it with his feet while he's recuperating. Huh?
I'm not touching those buttons after that happens. I'm sorry. my subbing is done once Donnie's feet start hitting the buttons.
There you go.
But thank you, Mike. I'm going to fill in with the local scoreboard from Donnie and give you the station ID. We're on 92.5 and 1180 AM WKCE Mid-Century Radio. And as always, the local scoreboard is brought to you by our friends at Mandy B Street Realty. And at this time of year, you can steal a home in multiple ways on the local scoreboard. Rounding up some of the baseball scores from the week. Not the best night, and Caleb, I'll let you jump in on some of these because you may have seen some of these more recently than I have. But Kingston gets a 14-6 win over Alcoa last night. Tornadoes fall to 13-4, but that comes on the heels of Alcoa sweeping Oneida in a midweek series with a 14-0 and 5-3 scores. So up and down week for the Tornadoes. Eagleton baseball, 15-0 win over Rockwood early in the week, and then dropped a 4-3 decision to Oliver Springs last night. The big rivalry game, the one that's on the front page of the paper today, William Blount, second meeting with Heritage, and the Governors come away with a 7-2 win, moved to 11-7 on the year. And Maryville won their third straight. They beat Saudi Daisy last night 9-2, so they're up to 500 at 10-10 and looking pretty good according to Game Changer. Have a couple games today in the tournament. if they can get those in. I think they're moving that tournament schedule around, trying to get some Sunday games moved
Yeah,
to Saturday.
probably.
But Rebels have got some chance to get some games in today and get ready for next week. Turning a little bit to softball, we had one of the big rivalry games that's probably might be going away, but Alcoa got the 11-0 win over Eagleton earlier in the week, and the Lady Tornadoes are now 20-4 on the year. Eagleton had another game this week. They dropped a 9-4 decision to McMinn Central, fell to 10-10, and they've got Austin East on Monday and Oneida on Tuesday to try to get their feet back under them. Lady Govs softball took a 5-0 win over Knox West, and that was last night. And I'm going to say that because it was West week to come to Blunt, because they also played a doubleheader at Maryville on Thursday, and Maryville took that one 15-1 and 11-2. So West had a hard week, but William Blunt and Maryville had up starts right there. Heritage softball, who I'm hoping, they're kind of hanging out at the table ready as soon as we get done here at Bluetick and move on to Player of the Week, but they'll be joining us. But they had a 10-0 win over Loudon, moved to 14-5 on the year, and earlier in the week they had a 12-0 win over Carter. And their big rivalry game is coming up. They play William Blunt on Monday, weather permitting. And then I know what Caleb's going to groan about when I bring it up, but we mentioned last week there were a bunch of signings for signing day, and you all had so much fun with signing day, didn't you, Caleb?
Yep. I think Josh was at William Blunt from 9 a.m. probably until 2 or 3 with signings top to bottom.
So I'm going to read off the list of what's been run so far, and this is not the complete list because we still got a bunch of signings still to go this school year.
Mm-hmm.
But William Blunt's Davis and Try signed with Bryan College Baseball. And I'm going to leave off the William Blunt. You can assume William Blunt until the player goes to William Blunt until I tell you different. Brandon Castile signed with Bryan College Baseball as well. Aiden Teffler signed with Carson Newman Football, so Tony's going to be happy when he can join us again. Coach Iruli will be happy to know that, and he may have had something to do with it. Keegan Swank signed with Brevard College Football, and Luke Watkins also signed with Carson Newman Football. One of the best athletes William Blunt has had recently, Savannah Darnell, she's going to King University to run track, which is a great get for King and a good match for her. Tessa Stout is signing with the University of Wisconsin lacrosse. If you can follow that one. Samantha Klingon is signed with Reinhardt Volleyball, and Charlie Scarnett signed with Roan State Basketball. The only one not from William Blunt on the list this week, Maryville Christians, Cassidy Williams signed with Carson Newman Cheerleading, which we can get. I think we need to pin Tony down on that one to see if he helps with cheerleading recruiting as well as football recruiting when he can join us again. But that kind of runs down the scoreboard for Mandy B Street Realty, and we'll mark it down a little bit, and we're going to put Caleb on the spot since the first time he's really been able to visit with us. Caleb, welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate
we
it.
didn't beat you up too bad in the first 30 minutes, did we?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Still fighting.
So for those who may not pay attention to bylines, Caleb has been with the Daily Times, 4 or 5 months now? 6?
Monday before Thanksgiving.
So what's it like now to be covering Blount County every day rather than just when you want to?
Yeah, I mean, you really get entrenched in, the rivalries you were talking about, and you see the tradition of some of these schools. And I think that's kind of the best part about Blount County is the sports culture is rich. I grew up in Knox County, and some schools have it, obviously some schools don't. But every school and every sport, the Blount County schools care. And you see that from top to bottom, from your big schools like Maryville all the way down to, going to Eagleton and seeing some of those field openings. Just people in the community care about the sports. And I think that's what stood out to me most. And that's what I appreciate most about covering Blount County is just it makes it a lot more fun when other people care too, and you're not just going to a game to watch a blowout. Everything feels competitive as well.
And, I don't think most people have realized this yet, but you're balancing full-time reporting on one hand and finishing up that last couple of months of school on the
Yep.
other. Because we're counting down to, district tournaments, you're counting down to graduation, right?
Yep, a little bit over a month now. I think we've got 4 or 5 weeks left, but on track, knock on wood, nothing's gone wrong yet, and have a University of Tennessee degree like Josh and Nate and our staff as well. So,
Yeah, so basically you're our NIL buy at the paper. So we're funneling the money in while to funnel your college career and help you get that degree.
the Daily Times Collective is helping me out
Yes.
for school.
Nobody said that had to be athletes. So you can sponsor any
true.
college student.
There
We're
you
just
yeah, you saw the manager from McNeese State get all the NIL money.
so. But what has been kind of struck you the most is as you've gone from school to school, and like you said, you went to school in Knox County, go to UT, but going from Blount County School to Blount County School, has anything kind of surprised you about the way this is set up and a little bit different?
I think the biggest thing is everybody plays everybody. Like, nobody's scared of competition. Like, I was at Alcoa Soccer this week, and they were playing West, which is probably going to make a run for a state championship. And, in Knox County, we would play our district games, sure, but then, like, the random midweek games would be against schools that, you just beat like a drum. Every game we go out to is somebody playing somebody good. There's no, oh, yeah, we're going to go out to William Blount today, and they're just going to beat up on a team. Everything's competitive. Everybody's playing good competition, trying to play for the postseason. And I think that's just something, like I said, I appreciate is, you're not going to go out and just watch a drubbing and have to write about it. You're going to have to see a good game between two teams. And, oftentimes smaller schools might be outmatched, but they're still playing competitive and, scheduling games just to get better, not scheduling games just to see wins on the schedule. And I think that's definitely different from Knox County because I feel like, no disrespect to coaches in Knox County, but a lot of them schedule to see the number of wins and kind of pad their egos. Whereas, like, here it's like Alcoa's coach Andy Bird had the best line. He was like, we'll go to the state tournament with a losing record, but we'll be the best team because we've played, all the best teams in the state. And so I think that kind of stood out to me most and stands out kind of across the county as well.
So I think Mike mentioned it, and we were talking about a little bit, like spring football is happening. There's practice going on at UT. You're kind of, because of your proximity from classes, it makes you kind of easy to be the UT guy right now. You got to see baseball. You've been keeping up with softball. You were doing the basketball. Not like anybody's had time to do football, but you were at the baseball game last night. Is this Tennessee team for real, or are they riding a number one ranking kind of like basketball was, where you're like, they look good, but
I think they're legit. I think the only thing they lack that the last year's team had that won the championship is last year you had that spark, like that guy who could turn the dugout on and kind of be that energy, like a Christian Moore to fire the guys up, or a Blake Burke who can hit a big home run. This year's team, you don't really feel like they have that one guy, but top to bottom, it's still probably a number one team. Your bullpen is great. Dylan Loy, Pigeon Forge alum who we've wrote about, he's got a 0 ERA still this season. He's absolutely shoving out of the bullpen. So you've got top to bottom talented guys. You've got top to bottom a talented lineup. You've got guys on the bench who could probably start for every SEC school in the conference, but they're sitting on the bench at Tennessee because they just want to play for that team. The only thing I worry about with this team is if they have that, like, dog that can turn it on when they need it, like a Christian Moore last year who could basically take over a game himself and light up a dugout. But I think they're worthy of the number one. I think they can make a run at the tournament, but baseball is a weird sport, so who knows? Because we said the same thing in 2022 and saw what happened then. So,
and this is the thing that bothers me about Tennessee baseball this year, is up until this point, the Vols have been the team that could hit no matter who you had. They were going to hammer and put up double-digit runs every game. I don't feel that from this team, but I feel like it doesn't matter because they may have the best pitching staff in the country.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you're only putting up – you only have to score 2 or 3 to win every night. But I feel like this lineup, I don't know how much of it is they can't hit against everybody or if it's just maybe Tony experimenting. Because, like, last night you had a guy like Ariel Antigua in the lineup who's not really an offense-first guy, but is a really good defender. So, yeah, maybe you take away 2 hits from whatever spot he's hitting in. Or Cannon Peebles at catcher, he's hitting like a $169 right now. You take away a couple hits, but what do you get on the defensive side? Or for Cannon Peebles, with your pitching staff so good, what do you get with him behind the plate leading those guys? So I do think it goes both ways. You also got to think a guy like Gavin Keelan was one of the best hitters probably in the country statistics-wise, and he pulled his hamstring. He hasn't played in probably almost 2 weeks now. He's working back from that injury. He pinch hit last week, still working back. So you've got guys who haven't even, like a Gavin Keelan, who isn't even in the lineup right now. A.J. Russell isn't even pitching right now, and Tennessee is still doing what they're doing. So the lineup is kind of suspect, but like you said, with the way the pitching staff throws the ball, you really don't worry about it as much because you don't score, scratch across, 2, maybe 3 runs, and you get a win. It's like last night, you no-hit Texas A&M, who's coming off the national championship last year, still has, obviously lost a lot of guys, still has a great lineup. And then you also turn around and run rule them on the other side against Ryan Prager, who's one of the best left-handed pitchers in the country. So I think it kind of goes both ways. And I think, honestly, it probably helps Tennessee to have a pitching staff like they do, that you're not reliant on that offense. Because when you get to Hoover, when you get to Omaha, pitching will travel. It's the bats that always worry you, especially for a team like Tennessee. When you get to the College World Series and all of a sudden you're in this massive ballpark, will the bats play? Well, if you're giving up 1 or 2 runs a game, it doesn't matter as much if the bats play because you can scratch across a couple of runs. So I think having a good defensive team, good pitching staff really helps Tennessee, and offense can always have the rest of the year to come around. So
have you had the sense from Vitello he's comfortable with that? Is he a little bit uncomfortable with not being able to be that dominant offensively?
I think for him, with the trust he has in Frank Anderson, his pitching coach, I think he's comfortable where he's at right now, knowing that he's got Cannon Peebles. He raved about Cannon Peebles last night. I wrote about it in my story, just how far he's come, not just in defensive work, but leading the defense, being the guy who can call the pitches. Because he called every pitch, just about every pitch of that no-hitter last night, and was receiving. And he looks like a different guy behind the plate. His bat is still hit or miss, but you don't need him for his bat right now. You need him behind the plate. So I would think Vitello's comfortable with where the team is at, especially with how the offense is doing, because they're not, maybe not, the numbers don't compare to years in the past. They've cooled off since hitting, I think it was 7 grand slams in the non-con, but they're still doing enough to win games. And I think the pitching staff, with Frank Anderson at the helm, a guy who Tony Vitello has a ton of trust in, I think they are comfortable letting it ride right now. And like you said, you still have some injuries that you're working through. If A.J. Russell comes back and can be a solid contributor come postseason time, you take that. So I think he is comfortable with where it's at. And, I mean, truthfully, I think it plays better for them, because if you get to Omaha, and we've seen it, we saw it last year a little bit, but the 2 years before, they go to Omaha, face a very good Virginia team with their ace on the mound, and lose. All of a sudden, you're in the loser's bracket, you get eliminated. The year before last, you go and face Paul Skeens, who sends you to the loser's bracket, and then you get eliminated. Maybe if Tennessee's pitching staff was a little bit better and the offense was just enough to scratch across the 2 runs, you win those games. So I think, all in all, I think he's comfortable with it. I do think you hope that the offense becomes maybe a little bit more consistent, because they have some games where they've dropped off. But I think all in all, where the team is at right now is a really good composition. It's just a matter of if they can beat, whoever they match up with once the postseason comes around.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in this morning and doing a little bit of time. And go ahead and give a little shout out there for the other 2 guys on the staff, and we'll take a quick break here.
Yeah, we've got sports editor Josh Lane, who's been killing it. He was on our signings mostly, so he's got a ton of good signing stories. He had the rivalry yesterday between William Blount and Heritage as well. And then Nate Tasato had a really good story yesterday about Maryville College unveiling some new softball cages and new facilities as well. He's been killing it. Well, all in all, I mean, our sports pages are full. Marcus, we're having to add sports pages most days to keep it full, and I'll be at Tennessee all day today. So we continue to fill the sports section with lots of local content and UT content, and it's having a ton of fun too. So it's been a really good time since we both joined the staff, and I really enjoy it.
Can't ask for more than that.
No.
Mike, you want to go ahead and give us a quick turn of the page?
Yeah, it's time to turn the page. And next up, the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. You're listening to the Goteez Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at andersonlumbercompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the Goteez Sports Page Player of the Week segment featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority. Proudly serving Blount County for 100 years. Marcus, you got some softball this morning.
Turn myself on.
There
here.
you go.
Yeah. We do have, I kind of teased it a little bit in the last hour, but Heritage Softball has agreed to join us this morning, which I really appreciate because they were swinging the bats late last night down in Loudon. So, Coach, thanks for coming in this morning. And I just got to start off with, there's no pressure for Heritage female athletics this year, right? Like,
no.
Coach Howard hasn't set the bar very high or anything.
No,
for you
2
guys.
years in a row he's gotten finished. He said, "Okay, it's your turn now." So yeah, no pressure at all.
Is it shaping up? Because you're pretty much into the heart of the district schedule at this point, right?
Right, we're a little over halfway through. District-wise, we're right in the middle. We're undefeated in district, playing pretty well in district games, and then of course we play a pretty competitive non-district schedule for the most part. So we're holding our own. We're doing well.
So, talk a little bit about the game last night. I was looking. This week, y'all gave up one run in three games.
One unearned run, yes.
So I've got to start with you've got to have a good pitching staff to do something like that.
Yes, and we've got three really quality arms. Alicia threw this week, and her game was a perfect game. 5-inning shortened run rule, but and Peyton Hasty threw against Sequoia 9 innings, 1 earned run. That run was scored in the first inning, and then last night Caitlin Russell missed a perfect game by one bobble at third base in about the 4th inning. So another no hitter. So yeah, we got 3 good arms. Actually, we've got a couple others that can throw as well. So this is probably the deepest we've been in the circle in a while.
So. I see them sitting nervously beside you, looking over like they didn't just realize 1 billion Chinese people can watch us on YouTube right now.
They wouldn't understand you, so it's okay.
You didn't have to tell them that part. Go ahead and introduce the Lady Mountaineers you brought with you.
Okay, to my right is junior catcher Portland Bennett, and then to her right is junior pitcher Alicia Bird.
And you mentioned Alicia a little bit. Brag on them just a little bit.
Alicia's been really solid for us in the circle this year, and in the leadoff or two-hole, her first pitch of the season was a home run, first at bat, first home run of her life. And then she's hit another one since then. So she's hit the ball really well, done a good job for us at the plate and in the circle, thrown the ball extremely well, which is what we expected. She had a good year as a sophomore as well. We just had Izzy in front of her, so. She didn't get as many innings, but she came in and did a good job when she did throw. And then Portland has caught since her freshman year, kind of forced into due to your freshman year due to injury, and then she's either split time or been the starter since then, and also hits the ball really well.
So can I pick on them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what we expect.
All right. So I've got a pitcher and catcher to choose from, but I'm going to start with the catcher because that's where the control is.
It is.
That who has to deal with all these pitchers and personalities. And talk a little bit about the difference for this season as a junior versus when you were a freshman and all the pitchers were mostly older.
Yeah, so my freshman year, we had Izzy. And, like, I got very lucky my freshman year because all the girls are very welcoming. Like, I didn't – I was nervous, obviously, but I didn't go in as nervous because I knew I had all these girls behind me that were going to support me. And last year, I mean, I caught Izzy again and Alicia and Caitlin. But, I mean, it wasn't as nerve-wracking because I had done it the year before. And this year, I mean, me and Alicia – Caitlin and Peyton, we all have great relationships, so it's easy when they go on the mound. I know what they're feeling, and it's easy to sync up then.
And you got all of them to work from. Do you get to call the pitches yet, or
Yeah,
is this something that Coach still does, or?
I've been calling the pitches mostly since my freshman year.
Really, Coach, you've let her since she was a freshman.
Right. Yeah, we switched over that year. We do a better job now scouting ahead, have a scouting report. They get it a day or two ahead on the other team and look at it. And, you know, if they need help, they'll look for, you know, give me a suggestion here. But we use the Coach Com system, too, with earpiece, so we can give some suggestions. But ultimately, it's up to them and the pitcher. You know, they're the ones that know what the ball's doing when they're throwing it and catching it, so we just leave it up to them.
So I could put you on the spot and ask who's the best pitcher on the team, but I won't do that to you. Wouldn't put you in that position. I will ask you this: when you're a tie game, 7th inning, what pitch do you want to go to? What's the go-to pitch for the Lady Mountaineers if you have to pick one?
I mean, it just depends on the pitcher and whatever's working that day. And honestly, it really comes down to trusting your defense because I can call a pitch and I have to trust my defense behind it because they could hit the ball, they couldn't. Like, it really depends. So it's kind of a toss-up. But, I mean, she can throw it and execute it, but if they hit it, then you got to trust the defense behind it.
So what's the excitement level on the team? I'll put this for both of you. What is – looking at the record, looking at who you've played, some of the wins you picked up, are you feeling good about this season right now?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I always feel good because I know we have like girls who are going to be able to execute. So, I mean, I'm just kind of cruising right now.
You're not. It's not your fault.
There you go.
Got you now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like we're just kind of going along with it, but I feel pretty good about how we've been so far.
And so this is an unusual question. Usually when we get the pitcher, we're going to talk about pitching all the time, but Coach kind of led off with what we were looking for. Home runs, you got to feel good.
Yeah, it did feel pretty good, especially since it was the first pitch of the season.
And I mean, you don't go into that. I mean, that's like something that somebody writes in Hollywood. The first pitch of the year, she's going to hit a home run, and that's how the movie starts. And then there's a dog running across the outfield. But you actually get to have that happen. So talk about what was the feeling like when you saw the ball go over?
Well, it felt pretty good because especially I didn't get a hit a lot last year. So I was I was honestly just looking to put it in play. But it felt really good whenever I finally did it. So.
When you come back around and you score, I'm assuming there was a greeting.
Yeah, we were all pretty hyped about it.
And when you have a catcher who we can brag a little bit, has a little bit of power when she's at the plate. Is it kind of a little bit of a thing with the pitchers that you've got to keep up with her?
I mean, I just go to look to put it in play. I'm not really a power hitter. I just try to get on. So that's just really my goal. Yeah.
And Coach, from your perspective, when the pitcher can put one over, that's a moment to go, okay, we're doing something right.
That's helpful. Yeah. We've had a couple of kids hit their first home run of their life this year, so pretty excited for them. You know, obviously they're excited about getting their first. But just seeing them hit the ball hard, you know, and knowing that we have other kids that can produce, you're not relying on one or two kids to hit the ball deep or hit the ball hard. That's important.
And Of course, you all are using torpedo bats, right?
No.
You may have missed the first 10 minutes of the show we spent on that, but it is. We talked to the science of the bats and the balls has become a thing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's been that way for softball, I think, longer than it has for baseball.
It has. The technology is ridiculous on the bats. But with that comes some unwanted consequences that they break constantly. Constantly busting bats, and kids are having to get theirs replaced. Their parents are having to get them replaced. We don't buy their bats for them, thank goodness. But yeah, it's they're really thin-shelled, and they're hot, but they also break pretty quick.
And that's that's just a long way from where high school softball
Yes.
was.
Yes.
It was. I'm not gonna say it started with the cow pasture type play and wooden bats but it did.
It
in a
did,
way.
and a white ball. Yeah, absolutely. And they switched that over, and then the bats kind of caught up with the baseball technology.
So you can imagine? I mean, if you could go back and tell yourself, okay, when you get 20 years down the road here, we're going to be using bats like this and balls like this, and you're going to be talking on a wireless headset.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of shocking.
It is, but it's a good thing. Obviously, that earpiece, Portland can't talk back to us. She can just hear what we're saying most of the time. Sometimes it goes in and out, but it's a good communication piece just to make sure we're on the same page, which most of the time we are. And then if it's something that they're not comfortable with, she'll give me a no. We're going to do this, and I'm like, okay, well, it's all you.
And for folks that aren't familiar with it, that this is part of the game now. What's the rule for it? How does that?
It's only the catcher can wear it. Nobody in the field can have it on. And it just became legal this year in softball. It was not legal in softball last year, but was in baseball. So we pushed for that, and FHS approved it. And I like it. What do you think?
I mean, I like it. I think it's also he can tell me like what the batter tendency like before where they put the ball in place. That kind of gives me a good hint because after we've gone through the lineup a few times, the hits start to mesh together. So it's a good communication tool. So I mean, it helps me call pitches, but usually I know what I'm throwing before the batter even gets up there.
But you see both sides of it because
Yeah.
you're the one that can hear it and can see how you're using it against somebody. But you're also, when you go to bat, they're using it against you. Can you kind of pick up? Do you pick up on any of that?
I'm not really worried about it. I mean, if they give me a pitch to hit, I'm gonna hit it.
Oh, I love the confidence of hitters. I really do. So we'll give you a really good toss-up. Which pitch, when you see it coming, are you going to be, that one's gone?
I mean, whatever's thrown over the plate.
If it goes over the plate, it's yours.
Yeah, if it goes over the plate, I'm gonna swing at it, because I'm at the point where I've got a lot of walks on the season.
Quite a few.
Yeah, they're usually trying to, I don't know. It's not gonna be over the plate.
So here's the thing is, when you get that kind of notoriety and you're drawing that many walks, that's when you need to talk to the folks upstairs to have a special walk music for you to kind of get on the pitcher's nerves that you are getting to play a little bit of song back at them. Something like Free Ride or something along that line that you can kind of personalize.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Well, we're full of good ideas, Coach.
Yes,
you know that.
thank
You've been
you.
here before. We are always full of
that's
good
awesome.
ideas here on the sports
I'll
page.
get our people on that.
If you listen to us, you're going to have a county softball tournament again before this.
That's another great idea because next year 2 of us will be in one district, and then the other 2 will be in separate districts.
Yeah.
So 3 separate districts, like we have now, but just flip-flopped around.
And I wasn't actually going to go into that very much because I like this season, but the district you're in now is, I'm not going to say set for you guys, but you all are in a position where you can make a lot of noise out of this district right now.
Yes, last year, same thing. We like the move in some aspects, and in other aspects, I think, they like the challenge of playing, having to play your best game every night to compete. And nothing against the teams in our district, because Sequoia's got a nice team. They gave us all we wanted earlier this week, but it's not night in and night out in our district. It's not as deep, so we still play the other teams from District 4. I told them I would, and I like it. I like the fact that we still get to compete with them because I like those people. But yeah, we kind of don't look ahead, but kind of see what's coming up after the district tournament's over. What our options might be.
Well, I want to look ahead to Monday.
Yes, big one.
Both of them just smiled. I saw that. William Blunt rivalry game. Is this going to be a strikeout cancer game?
It will be, yes. 2:00 in-school game for William Blunt and strikeout cancer.
I'm going to ask both of you. It's William Blunt. Does it matter they're not a district game anymore?
I mean, no, we're going to go at them either way. I mean, whether it's a district game or not, I mean, we're going to come at them like it's.
Like they're the county rival?
Yeah, well, I mean, they are, but we're just. I mean, we're going to go at them. We're going to go at them with the same energy as we do every day. Like, whether it's Farragut, whether it's Sequoia, whether it's anybody, we're going to go at them with the same energy that we have.
That's a good answer to have.
We talk about that a lot.
Coach, I want to get – I got to take a break here in a minute, but I want to get you in on this one. Because we've talked about it several times in the office over the last couple of years, but I hate to actually use the pun, but Game Changer has changed the game.
Oh, yeah.
Having that app where you can watch video of all your opponents, you can pull up all sorts of things, that has changed not just softball, but it's changed baseball as well. But for softball, it feels like it's become an avenue not only for teams to kind of keep up with each other, but for fans to keep up with other teams, and that breeds a kind of following and popularity that you all didn't have before, I don't think.
Right, yeah. I like the fact that people that can't come to the game get a chance to watch the game and follow along, especially when we get in postseason and have to travel longer distances. Not not a fan of other teams being able to see every pitch of every game to see how they want to attack us or vice versa. But it is what it is. We have the same opportunity. We rely mostly on our own intelligence, from previous game to game. But again, when we get to somebody we haven't seen, then we have to find all the resources that we can.
It helps to be able to do that.
It does. Yeah,
I mean, it does take mystery out of it that we used to have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll be honest. Like I don't get to do sports for the paper anymore. This is pretty much my sports outlet. But I still have the Game Changer app, and I can still turn on a high school game because it's a lot more interesting than anything that's on TV at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can just flip that on the tablet, and that's just such. And some of you guys have great call people doing. Not everybody does, but some of the teams have got great play-by-play people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they're mostly parents, but it's really good.
Sure, yeah. It's important to them too. They like to be involved.
Well, I'll give you a chance. Shout-outs for the program this year. Who's been helping out, and who do y'all need to give some thanks to?
Just all of our parents. The work they do in our concessions, and feeding. Making sure girls are fed before games, after games, during games. They provide stuff for us in the clubhouse at home. On the way, they'll bring something to the other team's dugout. Just making sure we're prepared. Getting kids to and from games if we're not taking a bus. So them, I can't go without thanking my wife for being there. Or following along and supporting me. And then our assistant coaches, Mackenzie Sherman, my daughter, and then Ashley Day and Haley Bergloff. Ashley's been with us for a while. Haley's her first year. She's a former player, and she's just getting her feet wet. So thank them. And then just all the administration. Her dad, our AD, is real supportive, helps us out a lot. But the entire administration at Heritage High School, Jed West, and our trainers, Jennifer and Gracie, keep our girls healthy. There was one point last week I think half the team was going to morning clinic. That was a little concerning, but I think we're all healthy now.
That really doesn't bother your nerves at all when you start seeing a lineup out
No,
there.
and she sends me a report, and there's like 6 kids on it, and I'm like, how are we going to – they better get healthy because I got to put a lineup on the field tonight or tomorrow or whatever. But they do a good job. Most of it's just maintenance, making sure we get the soreness out. But we did have a couple of pretty big dings that are taken care of now.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming in. I'm going to give you the same challenge I gave in November. We love having people come back with trophies. So if you all, by some chance, needed extra motivation, you can always win your way back on this show on another Saturday morning with the state championship trophy, if that sounds attractive in any way.
What do you think, Bird? You want to come back in the summer?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, because we'd love to have you. It's worked for other heritage teams, so why not give this one a try here?
Absolutely. We've knocked on the door 3 years. It's time to knock it down.
But anyway, we appreciate you getting up and coming to spend the time with us this morning,
Sure,
especially
thank
after
you guys.
the road game last night. Mike, I guess we'll go ahead and take a quick turn to the page.
Okay, time for a break. When we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight. You're listening to the Goteez Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
And that's the final whistle.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd's Sports Spotlight segment. And I'm here with Marcus Fitzsimmons, longtime sports writer, and former Alcoa basketball standout Dwayne Easter, and Caleb Giroux of the Daily Times. Time for some sports headlines, Marcus.
It is brought to us from Fast Signs.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Hey, the Cardinals made Trey McBride the highest-paid tight end in the NFL history. McBride agreed to a 4-year extension worth $76 million with $43 million guaranteed. It's an annual average of about $19 million. He's a happy guy, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say he's a happy guy.
Who was the previous tight end that was making the most money? You all know?
I didn't prepare for trivia, Mike.
I'll give you a hint. Yeah.
Was it
You
Kelsey?
ever heard of Taylor Swift?
Yeah, it was Kelsey.
Yeah, it's not Taylor Swift, but that's the hint. So yeah, it was
boyfriend.
Kelsey, $17.125 million.
Oh, well, I'll shake it off. Give me another question. Give me another trivia question.
Per
I'll shake that one off.
Per year. The Los Angeles Raiders and new quarterback Geno Smith have agreed to a two-year, $75 million extension. Incentives could push total to $85.5 million. He's 34 years old, and I believe he'll be playing for Pete Carroll. And I think he played for Pete Carroll at Seattle. So they're going to reunite there, I guess, in Las Vegas. 34 years old, he's getting on up there, but
Still pretty good money.
yeah, still able to rake in the money. So we'll see what happens there. Los Angeles Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman slipped in the shower and is on the injured list. Ankle injury. That boy, he needs to get some rubber mats in that shower. Or something, doesn't he?
Missed 2 games already, I think.
I guess
2 or 3.
Yes. What's he thinking? You know, he was hurt. Wasn't he hurt prior to the playoffs last year? Then he went into the World Series and absolutely just tore it up.
Maybe he's better hurt.
Yeah, maybe
Put him
he's
back in
better.
there with the bum
Maybe
ankle.
this is a good thing to have this injury and come on back. You know.
Yeah.
Buzz Williams, former Texas A&M basketball coach, is headed to Maryland. I don't know. Has he had enough of the SEC? I don't know, but I hate to see that.
It's a rough time. It's a rough time to
to
be an
see it.
Aggie.
He's
You lose your
I'd hate to see
baseball
that too.
coach to Texas, lose your basketball coach to Maryland,
he's done
football.
He's done such a great job, you know, in the college ranks. He did a good job at Virginia Tech. He went to Texas A&M. He's done a good job there. He's just one of those coaches that can't seem to, you know, can't seem to get over the hump. You know,
Why would he go to Maryland?
Well, Maryland's it's in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's in the Big Ten, so he's going to be in a good
You're
league.
going to have
more
the
money?
majority of that
was-
crab 4 back.
Yeah, and you will have if they don't transfer. But you also have you think about A&M. Everybody's trying to take some NIL money at Maryland. I feel like it's a little bit easier to invest in one sport because you're not worried about football at Maryland or baseball or other sports. Whereas at A&M, you got to try to get every sport good.
Yeah, I think he's an awful good coach. I hate to leave him hate for him to leave from that aspect, and it takes a really good coach away from the SEC basketball.
Yeah.
So
But, we talked about expectations here in a rabid fan base. That's also a cutthroat, rabid fan base that does not accept mediocrity.
And a fan base with a lot of money, too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss his vest, you know.
Yeah, I miss his looks. He looks to look like Curly Joe of the Three Stooges. You know, I always liked that look. He had. Curly Joe. You take them fingers and go like that to the official. Remember Curly back in the day? Yeah. Yeah, Caleb probably doesn't remember the Three Stooges, but
You'd have to explain to him who the Three Stooges are, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, Georgia basketball transfer Silas Demery Jr. is committed to Connecticut, and Dan Hurley. So the wheeling and the dealing starts in the transfer portal, and Hurley he loses a lot of players every year, Dwayne. So he's got to restock, and so he's restocking at guard.
He'd be hard to play for, I think.
Yeah, he's a little strange. Anybody that goes out there before the season starts and takes garlic and waves it under the bleachers, I'm not so sure.
Didn't
I'm
work
not so
this
sure.
year.
I know, didn't
Worked
quite
the
work.
last 2 years before.
Yeah. Ex-UT quarterback Joe Milton, the third, is on the move. He's headed to the Dallas Cowboys to back up, I guess, Dak Prescott.
Is that good for him or bad for him?
I don't know. I don't think it's bad because the way Dak's had injury trouble, so I feel like Joe's kind of going to be the next man up. And I wonder how much, too, like obviously Dallas with Jerry Jones has their own issues, but I mean the Patriots right now, the team he got traded from, also is not out of the woods either. So, I mean, you kind of go from a situation that's not good to a situation that's also probably not good, but for much different reasons.
Yeah. Now, if you got seats in either end zone, be on the heads up because he throws the ball a little long, at times, capable of throwing it out of the stadium at times.
Yep.
Right, Dwayne?
He's got an arm.
Hey,
Not very accurate a lot of
when
times.
when the sun starts shining in the Cowboy Stadium too, you can't see. So he's not going to be able to see, and he's letting it fly. So
Hope his
you better
receivers,
watch out.
Yeah,
hope his receivers can jump really high.
Yeah.
Wear some padded gloves.
Well,
Hey,
they've got that concourse. He could probably put one right through a window on the back side of that if they ask him to.
He can throw it. Yeah, that's right.
Get some airflow in there.
Hey, the renovated Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum opened this past Wednesday to race fans. It's been closed down over a year, I think a year and a half. It was one of the finest museums in the world up to that point. Maybe the finest racing museum in the entire world. Now they spent $60 million renovating this museum, and they had some pictures of it on YouTube this past week. I took it in. It's absolutely fabulous what they got. They got I think three stories. For years, you couldn't go to the basement. That's where they had all the stored race cars, and everybody wanted to go to the basement to see what they had down there. Well, now the basement's part of the museum.
Oh,
so
really?
it's a tremendous place. You can get in race simulators and play like you're driving the race cars around the track, and you can stand on.
Now I know what Mike's going to do his next trip up
They've
to
got a
Indy.
simulated deal in the museum where you can stand on the start-finish line. It's like you're actually standing there, and they've got the 3 cars in front of you and the flyovers going over.
So when are you going?
Well, I'm going in May. But I'm going to, especially, I'm going to take in that because it looked like a fabulous
Sounds
place,
like it is.
and they've really done a great job of redoing it. The South Carolina women are going to head back to the NCAA title basketball game. They defeated Texas 74-57, and then last night UConn blew out UCLA 85-51, 34 points. I don't know, a couple of boring games there. You'd think Texas and UCLA would have given those two teams a little bit more than they gave them in their
UCLA
final
got some
form.
tall
but
girls too, don't they?
That was just
That's surprising.
I don't know. Just showed up. And
They had
didn't play.
closer games in the first few rounds than they did in the Final Four.
They really did. And now you got a South Carolina team, and you got Dawn Staley. You got a couple powerhouse teams here. Two
Yes.
powerhouse teams with some tradition. Dawn Staley won 3 national championships at South Carolina, and Gino Ariema has won 11 national titles up there at Connecticut. So that's 14 national titles in this game. Caleb, I'm telling you, there's a lot of stake here, and UConn's going in at a 5.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I don't know how much I buy into UConn being a favorite in this game. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that UConn blew out South Carolina in the regular season, 87-58. But I think if anybody made a women's bracket, you probably had this circled. And UCLA and USC, both of their head coaches, weren't very pleased when the bracket came out that they had to face off with UConn. They both were kind of in the media complaining about their seeding, which I think if your coach is going to complain and you don't back it up on the court, it's not a very good look.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, UConn and South Carolina is kind of who everybody picked to begin the year. And we talked about Kim Caldwell earlier in the show, but if UConn goes and wins the national championship, she's got to win over the national champion in her first year at Tennessee.
Yeah, and if Gino Ariema wins a national championship, he can go back and say, Tennessee turned our entire season around, because I'm telling you, this is not the same Connecticut team that played the Lady Vols. They have done nothing but improve. I think they're playing outstanding basketball right now.
And I think that was probably a wake-up call, because they turned around and blew out South Carolina and went and made a run in the tournament. And for UConn, too, their Big East schedule on the women's side of the game is not very good, not like it is in the men's. So they got to schedule those tough non-conference games.
And there's a story there with their fine player, Beckers. Is that her name?
Yep.
Outstanding player who's fought injuries the whole time she's been at Connecticut. And she is really playing great basketball right now. She's putting up a lot of points for them.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch her play, and it's also fun, like when UConn came to Knoxville, there's little kids walking around in Paige Becker's jerseys. They're not UConn fans; they're just Paige fans.
Yeah.
So they would only cheer if she scored or if she got a rebound. But if UConn scored, they didn't really care.
Yeah.
So she's kind of got a Caitlin Clark effect, if you will, where she plays a very fun style of basketball and people want to watch. And she's very good, too.
She's supposed to be, number 1 pick, I think?
Yeah,
in the
number
draft.
1 or number 2, depending on if they need a big or not.
Yeah.
And I'll finish up the headlines. Bob Kessling and Burt Bertelkamp, after 26 years, they signed off on the Vol Network. And
somebody was saying something about Burt being in the Hall of Fame or jersey retired or something.
I don't know. Well, maybe.
Maybe it's newscasting.
Mike
Hall of
Keefe.
Fame.
Mike Keefe will be taking over, and he's been the announcer down for the Titans, I believe, hadn't he, before he came here?
I think he'll do a really good job.
Yep.
And they've announced the staff for football, but they didn't announce the staff for basketball yet, which I thought was interesting.
So who do you think that will be?
I'm not sure.
Will it be Hamer?
I don't know. I really don't have a pick on that.
His staff for football, he's got Ramon Foster as his main color analyst, another guy off of Nashville radio, and then obviously Jason Swain and Brent Hubb stay up and work with him. So I was curious, though, too. I wonder if they're waiting a little bit for basketball to kind of get in the rear view before they pick. But
I think so.
Maybe they're waiting to see what kind of job that Barnes does in the transfer portal before they decide to broadcast any basketball games next year. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess that's true. I mean, theoretically, it doesn't have to be men's basketball that he does. He could, they could switch it up and have him do lady ball basketball and have somebody else do the men's games.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I've got a few on this day in sports. 1927, Johnny Weissmuller sets the world record in both the 100-meter and 200-meter freestyle swimming events. Johnny Weissmuller.
Big actor, too.
Yeah.
Hasn't he become an
Tarzan.
actor? Yeah, Tarzan.
Yeah, Tarzan and Cheetah.
Yeah. That's way before
Cheetah the monkey.
That's way before Caleb right there, you know. Yeah.
That man just had the biggest shoulders. I
thought-
swear.
I thought-
Football players were envious of those shoulders.
I thought this was interesting. 1934, Babe Ruth agrees to do 3 15-minute broadcasts a week over NBC. I assume that's radio, for a fee of $39,000 for 13 weeks. It's going to be $4,000 more than his New York Yankee playing contract.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting deal. He's going to talk on the radio more than what he could get for playing. So, hey, there's hope for all of us, isn't there?
Yeah,
huh?
that's right.
Obviously, we need to rework our contracts.
Yeah.
You got to hire a big agent.
Yeah. In 1976, 76er Wilt Chamberlain sets an NBA record for 41 rebounds. That's a bad shooting night. That's a bad shooting night on both teams, isn't it, Dwayne?
Yeah,
41 rebounds.
That's a lot of rebounds right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty interesting. 1972, Major League Baseball fails to open the season. Player strike, first time in history that the game had that. They lost 86 games that season because of that strike in 1972. Yeah. In 1973, the NFL adopted a jersey numbering system. Quarterbacks could only wear 1 through 19.
Really?
Numbers 1 through 19. Yeah.
They don't have that anymore.
I was going to say, they've gone away from it now, haven't they?
They've kind of loosened it
Yeah,
up, but
probably.
there's a lot of tradition where those numbers are you still pretty much see the same number sets going for
Yeah.
wide receivers, same number sets for linemen.
I think like a 99 on some players. Go, wow, why is he wearing a 99?
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
they've
double zero.
they've loosened it up, but like there was a point where you could get in, like you were limited. You'd have to make him change jersey if you were trying to send a non-lineman in to play a lineman position in an emergency.
Yeah.
1981, the Philadelphia Flyers amass a record 2,621 penalty minutes. Can you imagine the cuts, bruises, and lost teeth in that season from their players?
Good grief. Oh, my gosh.
How can you imagine playing hockey that year and say, oh, gosh, we're going into Philadelphia to play this weekend? I'm going to need my tooth guard and some extra padding and whatever.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to play hockey?
No. I did play a little. We in Indiana, places would freeze over.
Yeah.
Guys' backyards and
Ponds
stuff.
and
We'd
stuff.
get a couple of cardboard boxes and find some sticks, and we'd hit a ball around out there. That's about as far as my hockey days go. Yeah, that's about it. 1983, Tom Seaver, the New York Mets,
Tom
sets the
Seaver.
record 14 with his 14th NL opening day assignment. 14.
He's a good pitcher.
Yeah. In 1984, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar breaks Wilt Chamberlain's all-time scoring record of 31,419 points.
Now LeBron's got, what, 50,000?
Yep. Yeah, he's broken. He broke that. 2010, the 72nd NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, Duke beat Butler 61-59. Now, this is how far we've come from 2010. Butler University, a lot of people didn't know who Butler was back in that time, and they got all the way to the finals there 2 years in a row, I think. But they were back to play Duke, and they lost the game 61-59. Coach Stevens, Brad Stevens, had Butler in class the morning of the NCAA tournament. He made them all
Really?
go to class at Butler instead of going to the practice floor.
Really?
I thought that was how many coaches in this day and age with the NIL and all the money in the transfer portal would be thinking about sending their kids to class on the day of the NCAA tournament. I thought that was amazing. And, of course, I remember on the last shot, remember the last shot that Butler had from midcourt and the guy hit the back of the rim with the shot? What a story that would have made if that shot had gone in and Butler had won that game 62-61 on a half-court eve.
Yeah.
Amazing game.
And there were a lot of people who thought it should have.
Yeah.
Wanted it to go in. Just so Duke would not win another title.
Yeah. I got a couple of birthdays here. both of them baseball players. 1938, Ron Hansen was born. Played shortstop for Baltimore and the Chicago White Sox. You remember him, Dwayne?
Who's that now?
Ron Hansen.
Ron
Played for the
Hansen.
Baltimore
I don't really remember him.
Orioles and the Chicago White
Is that
Sox.
around the Boog Powell era?
Yeah, back in that day.
Okay.
Back in that excellent shortstop.
I don't remember that name.
And born in 1949 was Rennie Stennett, infielder with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I believe he still owns a major league record. He's one of 3 players to have 7 hits in a Major League Baseball game. 7 hits in one game.
Good Lord.
Only 2 other players have done that.
How many innings?
I was about to say, you got to have extras for that.
Might have been, but
You're scoring 30.
Yeah, he was a great player on those Pirate teams back in the
Willie
in
Stargell
and
all them guys.
And Des 2000 Lee Petty, stock car driver. And in 2007, Darryl Stingley. You remember Darryl Stingley that was hit by Jack Tatum in a game. Tatum was the linebacker, I believe, played for the Oakland Raiders, and hit Darryl Stingley, who was a receiver for the New England Patriots, and paralyzed him, quadriplegic.
Wow.
And he passed away at the age of 55. Yeah, they called Jack Tatum the assassin. And it was a highly publicized deal where it was a blindsided hit. You know, Stingley was going over the middle of the field to receive a pass, and Tatum hit him. You know, coming from the other direction.
Really?
And and in 2020, Bobby Mitchell, the receiver for the Cleveland Browns, he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He passed away on this date at the age of 84. 84. Okay. All right, let's talk some NCAA basketball. Dwayne, we got 4 number 1 seeds. Good on the what do you call it? The pools and the picks. If you pick the number 1 seed to be in the Final Four, you're in good shape right now, huh?
Yeah.
All of them.
It didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to.
Me neither. I had 3 of them in there, but I had Patino's team. St. John's let me down.
Yeah.
The Johnnies.
Yeah, I thought St. John's would head out of that lower left-hand bracket down there, but they didn't get past Arkansas, and I really felt like they could make a run because that team was playing really well. You know, they won the Big East tournament, and I think he's an excellent coach, especially when it comes to the NCAA tournament. But they didn't make it. They didn't make it. But we got 4 number 1 seeds. We got 2 veteran coaches with Bruce Pearl of Auburn and Kelvin Sampson, who've been around a while. And then we got 2 young guns, John Schreier there at Duke, 37 years old, and Todd Golden at Florida at 39 years old. Caleb, we got the old and the new.
I know.
Kind of hitting each other here.
We were talking about it on the way home from the Elite Eight, but man, Todd Golden and John Shire are going to be around a long time.
Yes.
At these 2 schools if they keep up their success. So there's no sleeping on Florida or Duke anytime soon. It seems if they keep rolling, but with the transfer portal, who knows?
Yeah. These games are played in San Antonio, as we've mentioned, Marcus, and is this going to be like a home game for Houston down there?
It should be.
It should be.
If it's not, that's their fault.
Yeah. And you talk about seeding. They sent Houston up to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You know, and there you are. And we talked a little bit about this week. You know, the seeding favored Tennessee, really. Lexington to Indianapolis.
It did.
And I was wrong last week. I thought they were playing in Atlanta this week, and you guys didn't correct me, but it was San Antonio. So anyway, Houston paid their dues up there in front of all those Tennessee fans.
Yep.
Now they're going home, and now they're going to play in front of their own
Houston
fans.
had to play Purdue too.
Yeah,
in Indianapolis.
It was 2 road games.
Yeah, it was packed in there.
2 road games. You know, and that Purdue game went right down to the wire. You know, Purdue got a couple of tough calls there at the end that could have made a difference. We got premier players. We got Janai Broom of Auburn, Dwayne, and we got Cooper Flagg of Duke. So are those the 2? Can anybody else think of 2 other or another player more premier than those 2? Those 2 stand out to me. Huh?
That Pettiford for Auburn,
very good.
He's tough.
You can't sleep on. I mean, Florida. It's tough to pick one player because all 3 of their guards are really good.
Yeah, they're up there. But these 2 guys, both of these teams seem to rally around these 2 guys. I mean, these are like the head of the snake that everybody gathers around. So is that an advantage for them, or would you rather have a Florida or maybe a Houston where everybody's kind of spread out you get a pretty good performance out of several different people.
Broom, he hurt his elbow
Mhm.
there toward the end of
Yeah.
that game. I don't know.
But they say
I
he's good to
think-
go. So
I think that's what makes Duke so scary is even when you try to double Cooper Flagg, he's got so many guys around him that can still manage. Auburn to me is a really good team because they can defend. I just don't know if you take away Broom, if their guards can pick up that slack because he provides them with a lot. And I think when you're playing a team like Florida, they've got another big who can bang around with Broom. So can Auburn's guards beat Florida's guards, who all are 6 foot plus with length?
they withstood Michigan State without him.
Mhm.
You know, he missed a lot of time. You know, the second half.
And you
know,
wonder if he's fully healthy going
Yeah.
into this game too.
Duke
Yeah.
looks really good.
They do.
I just love their, and it's not flag. I love their inside. I love their post.
Yeah.
That, and his name's escaped me. I'm not sure I could pronounce it right anyway. But he is. If it was not for Flag, I think he was capable of being that kind of scoring hero.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he's just got something where he is going to go after the ball, and
Yeah,
he is very aggressive about getting under the basket, getting rebounds, defending,
Mhm.
Yeah.
everything you want from that guy down there.
And he's not scared of contact either.
I hadn't watched Duke much till just recently, and they're really good. So
Yeah,
I-
they can
I-
be
Well,
real good
you're
defensively,
in
and they can be really good offensively. They got some good.
Yeah.
They got good balance.
It's
They
not like
do.
anybody gets the ACC network.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, it's just not like
Yeah.
it's not going to be on your Spectrum dial,
not
so
watching
you're
it.
not going to see them very much.
So
you-
yeah.
You got 4 teams that have been to the Final Four. Auburn's been to the Final Four, I think, with Pearl. I
Yeah,
think
Pearl,
one time. Houston, has been there. You go way back to the day they were in the final game against UCLA and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Houston had Elvin Hayes and had beat them in the Astrodome during the season, and then UCLA just pounded them like a yard dog in the final game of the
Yeah.
championship. And then they were there with Phi Slamma Jamma. Is that right? And North Carolina State beat them there in the last second. So Houston,
Yeah.
they've been, and of course Florida's got a couple of championships under Billy Donovan.
Yep.
And then
Lee
Duke,
Humphrey teams.
and Duke, they've just over their years in tradition, Rich, they've just made a home in the
Yep.
NCAA finals. So you got some schools there with some tradition. Who's got the advantage, tradition-wise?
I'm picking Duke over. I've changed. I thought it was going to be Florida, but the more I looked at Duke, it's going to be hard to beat Duke.
Yeah,
Well, if you're going off tradition,
I hope you're right.
if you go off tradition, I think you have to give that to Duke just because the Final Four and how often Coach K got them there. But whether you like that or not, because
I don't really
there
like it.
there are many people who hate Duke being in the Final Four.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a tradition that works for you. in
Sort of
every
like Notre
case.
Dame football, isn't it? A little bit.
I would guess that if you had to take a bet on the team that will be most booed by the fans from the other game, it would be Duke.
Yeah. I don't know how much it plays into it either, but Duke is majority freshmen. And they don't play like freshmen.
Right.
But you have to wonder if you're in a 5-point game, you're in this massive stadium that the Alamo Dome is, a trip to the championship on the line. Do they step up or do they fold under that pressure? And like I said, they don't play like freshmen. So far I would say they're going to step up. But still, it's worth mentioning, especially when you're playing a Houston team that's veteran, who's got guys who have been in this situation and want to get to that championship and finish their career off right. And you've got a veteran coach in Kelvin Sampson. What does he have up his sleeve when they face off with Duke? You got to wonder. I'm sure their game plan will be airtight.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the styles of these different teams. Duke, they can be excellent on defense. They can score a lot of points. They got outstanding balance on offense and defense, and you've got Flag as your outstanding player there. And then of course Houston, their success lies with their defense. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They like a controlled pace. They like the game to be in
Slow
the
it down.
the 60s, sort of like the way Barnes plays over here.
Well,
Low-scoring games.
they had
and-
us at 15
and
points.
they're very seasoned in close games in this tournament. They've had the majority of close games.
True.
Florida, good inside, good outside. They can score quick. real quick.
Yeah.
Like, they were down, 11 points or something like that with 3 or 4 minutes to go the other day, and I had them for dead, and they came back. And they like an up-and-down tempo game, tough on the boards, real tough on the boards. And then you got Auburn, whose offense is set around Broome. They like to play outside in, but they can shoot the three. They like to take the ball downhill to the bucket, make something happen. And they'll work the clock at times, trying to control the game. So if you're looking at those different styles, you're looking at Duke and you're looking at Houston. You got one of the finest offenses in the country going against one of the finest defenses.
That's the game I'm going to be looking forward to most, just because I want to see what Houston can do against that Duke offense. And like I said, after watching what Kelvin Sampson was able to do against Tennessee, I'm curious to see what he's able to do against Duke and their offense. So I'm curious to watch that one. Cooper Flagg has impressed so far. Duke's a 4.5-point favorite on ESPN, so I think, obviously Vegas is leaning that way. But, man, if Houston can slow that game down and play their pace and all of a sudden has Duke in a 2 or 3 point game, you wonder if Houston can hit those big shots. They've been in these close games, like you said, and pull out that win. So I think it'll just be a matter of which team can kind of impose their will on the other.
What you're trying to say, Caleb, can Houston drag Duke into the mud?
Exactly. Yep.
And make them just play in their game and slow it down and kind of take them out of their rhythm.
And all of a sudden, Houston loves to play those passing lanes. If they get a couple turnovers and run in transition, how does Duke respond to that?
Yeah.
Do they get nervous on the offensive end? What happens there?
Yeah. And Dwayne in Florida and Auburn, and you got Broome on the inside, and everybody around him in Florida. You got good inside, outside, can come back, up-tempo game. They've seen each other. They've played each other during the year. And
I'll take Florida.
You're going to take Florida in this one.
Yeah.
What about you, Marcus?
Oh, I just hate it. I'm going to take Florida, and I would take Duke. I think that's your final matchup.
Yeah.
And the world is happy because it's not an all SEC final.
I was in I'm in that, the ESPN fantasy deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've had a really good year. I won this deal in our group last year. We got about 8 guys or 9 guys up here in Indiana that's in the group. And I was just going great guns. And of course, I didn't have anybody in that lower bracket because St. John's got beat. Well, these guys all had Florida. And I'm sitting there last Saturday, and I'm going, man, they're down 12 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and I'm going, they're done. They're done. These guys, they got them going all the way to win the deal.
Yep.
And I said, they're wiped out, and I'm going to win this thing, and I won't even have to sweat because I got Duke. And they come back, and you talk about being sick. My phone rang off the hook. Said, we thought we were dead. We're alive now. We're alive. We're back. We're back. Oh, Lord, it's crazy. Boy, you got to have a lot of luck. You got to have a lot of luck in this deal. Hey, it's time for us to take a break, and when we return, we'll be back to close out today's show. You're listening to the Goteez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, B.F. Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensonTire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and we're talking NCAA basketball right here, Final Four, and I'm with Dwayne Easter, former outstanding player at Alcoa High School, and Caleb Giroux, Daily Times, and Marcus Fitzsimmons, longtime sports writer and a regular on this show. And as I look down through here, I mentioned Houston, but maybe somebody disagrees with me. But I think throughout the tournament, it may be because of their style of play And you play that way, you maybe can win some games you shouldn't win, and you may lose some games that you probably should win because of their style and their defensive play. But and as a result of that, you play close games. So you see Houston as the most tested, or do you see you see somebody else that's been? I know Florida. What do you think, Dwayne?
Yeah, Houston's good, but I don't know. Florida is just the way they shoot from outside. What's that guard's name? Is it Clayton? Is that
Walter
his name?
Clayton, yeah.
Oh, man. That's what you're talking about that killed you earlier about them coming back. I mean, he just is unreal from shooting outside and three-point range. And he can be off balance and shoot it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Florida just –
Well, the testing part of it, and I want to go back to Tennessee. Before they got to Houston, they were really tested. I mean, really, the 3 games they played, they just rolled through those 3 games, and then they got behind early, kind of a little of adversity, and they didn't recover. Caleb, do you see that with any of these teams
I wonder,
here,
with Tennessee, how much you also put on the regular season for them, because they were tested in the regular season, beat Auburn in the SEC tournament. But when you look at Duke, the ACC had a couple teams that was able to compete with the Blue Devils, but it dropped off fairly quickly for them. In this tournament, I don't think they've faced much adversity at all. I mean, you beat a Louisville team who was hot late, but earlier in the year they weren't, and you kind of played close with North Carolina. But still, I just look at Duke and I wonder, and I've said this before, and I may be completely wrong, I probably will be, but when those freshmen play against a tested team and the lights are bright and it's a close game and that arena starts, getting loud and you realize what you're doing, will they be able to hang with that? But I do think Houston's tested. I think they've got a veteran coach who has been in this situation before, and I think they've got guys who want to be here. And something that really impresses me about Houston is they don't shoot the 3 a lot, but when they do, they knock down those shots. You look at that Tennessee game, Emmanuel Sharp didn't take a 3 the whole first half, and then the second half, I think he knocked down 3 or 4 because that's what they needed. So he came through and hit those shots. And I think that's what's gotten Houston to this point is when they don't shoot a lot, but when they need those shots, they knock them down.
Exactly. When Tennessee looked like they had the momentum was coming back, what they do, they hit 2 or 3 threes right there that were just daggers.
And that was it.
Just daggers.
Yep.
1 or 2 would have probably done it. But the 3 just –
and they weren't open either. People were – they were contested threes.
Yeah, you're almost saying, why are you taking this shot?
Yep.
But they hit them. Marcus, sentimental favorites. Is there a sentimental favorite in this tournament? Do we have any sentimental favorite?
I suppose there's people that would have one. I can't see one for me, but I mean, I could kind of hope they all lose.
Well, you got Bruce Pearl there. Bruce coached here at Tennessee, and there's a lot of fans around here that still like Bruce Pearl.
Oh yeah.
So they're kind of rooting for Bruce, and on the other side, do you have these fans that say, well, I really don't want Bruce to win because if Bruce wins, they're going to be this. Well, look, they got Bruce down there in Auburn. They won the national championship, and we got Rick Barnes up here, and we can't win a national championship. And if we had Bruce up here, we would have us a national champ. You're going to have to hear that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fans would still like to have Bruce back up here. But
I've got Auburn. I got Auburn in the final against Duke. I don't have Florida, but I got Auburn in there. But it was hard for me to pick him.
Really,
I'm not a big Bruce Pearl fan.
I think Florida pulls that one out. I had Florida and Duke.
Yeah.
Florida's like an NBA team, man. If you guard one guy, they've got 2 others. If you guard those 2, they can kick it in the post, and then on the other end, they're going to rebound all night. So I just think. I mean, if maybe Florida comes out and shoots cold, but, man, that is a fun team to watch play basketball.
So you're saying with my group up there that it doesn't look good right now, that it was all about those last 4 minutes there last Saturday? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Caleb?
That last 4 minutes.
That's the way I was taking it at the time, too.
That last 4 minutes might have been the end for your group, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you got 2 SEC teams in there. There could have been
good.
4. We talked last week. There's a possibility you have 4 in there. But you got 2 in there. You got 1 ACC team, 1 Big 12 team, but no Big 10. No Big 10, and you had some pretty good teams in there. So if you're an SEC guy, an SEC lover, a lot of people think, well, I just can't root against the SEC. I just can't root against them. I got to take an SEC team. So, it looks like Florida around the table for most of you. Huh? And if not Florida, it's going to be Auburn. So you got at least one SEC team that's going to be in the final.
It's been a while since an
That's
SEC
good.
team won, too.
Yeah.
That's good for the SEC.
Yeah.
Which is Tennessee in there instead.
Marcus, if we got the 4 best teams vying for the national championship, if we got the 4 best teams.
If they've won their way there, they're the 4 best teams. That's the nature of basketball.
All right.
Now you can say Tennessee had a good team and they could, they beat Auburn and they beat Florida, and you know what? Basketball is a tournament sport. You got to win in the tournament.
Who's got the best matchup? Who's got the best matchup going in here? You got Duke against Houston, Auburn against Florida. Who's got the best matchup? Dwayne?
That's a tough one right there.
That is a tough one.
They're all pretty evenly matched.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
I would
both those games are going to be so evenly matched. It's hard to.
I would lean towards the SEC one just because they're more familiar with each other. I don't think Duke
because
is really,
they've played each other in their same league. They're more familiar.
And a lot of common opponents. You're watching that team a lot.
And
I don't think if you're Duke, there's no way you looked at Houston and you're like, yeah, we're excited to play this game because, man, Houston is going to wear them down, win or lose, that whole 40 minutes.
And sometimes, you feel more comfortable playing in your league, and you know about them. But like you get in the tournament and you get these draws, and they're from different conferences that play different styles. It's a little tougher matchup. So Duke's got that Houston. It's two different scenarios there with the style of play.
Dominant, so I think both games are going to be exciting.
Dwayne, you got Florida. Caleb, you got Florida. You got
Duke.
I got Duke. I
Well,
I gotta have Duke.
What do you mean to win it all?
Yeah, to win it all.
Oh, that's Duke.
Okay, you got.
I'll roll with Florida.
Okay,
I like
you're
the
gonna
Gators.
stay with Florida.
I like the Gators.
3 Dukes and a Florida.
I got Duke.
3
to win
Dukes
it
and
all.
a Florida. Okay.
I think Walter
Yeah.
Clayton hit some crazy shots, and the Gators come
All
out
right.
with it.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting, and if I can get Duke through there, that might be. I could be a 2-time winner.
There you go.
And last year I said, well, what do I win? I won last year. I said, what do I win? I was all excited. I said, you get a pat on the back. You get a pat on the back is what you get. So I don't know.
There you go.
Huh?
Hey, he's got the whistle.
Yeah.
He's got the whistle.
And he's dying to blow it. and usually, and we don't ever know what's going to happen here, do we? Because sometimes it's a flub and sometimes it's a whistle. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goteez Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host, the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Marcus Fitzsimmons and Dwayne Easter and Caleb Giroux, until next week, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goteez Sports Page. The best in local sports since 1978.